And now, Daljit Dhaliwal.
A crisis triggered in America is being felt by Europe's minor and major players, with increasing protests and other forms of social unrest are also spreading. In Iceland, a government has fallen. In France, President Sarkozy has taken to the airwaves to defend his proposed $33.4 billion stimulus package after over 1 million protesters took to the streets. The Spaniards, who are looking at unemployment heading towards 20%, also turned out to demonstrate. It was a similar story in Latvia, Lithuania, Hungary and Bulgaria, where citizens are feeling the distress of the economic downturn. To give us some perspective into the links between the economic crisis and any European political instability is Le Figaro's Laure Mandeville. Laure, welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much.
Are some of the smaller European nations poised for the same kind of political fate that we saw in Iceland?
Well, yeah, it's difficult to say, but I think this crisis is revealing, is triggering all the social problems which sort of lay under the surface for all these years, because Europe, both the old Europe and the new Europe, have faced very many structural problems, in terms of poverty, unemployment, difficulty to get investment into the industry and manufacturing, and all this is going to appear, and I hope not explode, but it could also explode in the face of politicians, and we're seeing that in Great Britain, where you have this sort of growing discontent of Polish workers coming to steal jobs from the British, and we see that, of course, in Eastern Europe and in France, of course.
And workers in places like France, where you're from, Spain and Latvia, do they feel that the governments don't know what to do? I mean, is there a sense that why there have been so many protests, or there are other reasons for the dissatisfaction, some of which you've hinted at?
In France, at least, I know that 54% of the population, according to polls, think that President Sarkozy didn't get it right in terms of, responding to the crisis. But I think in France it's a very specific situation, because we have, in fact, a society which has for years, had difficulties in dealing with reform. And President Sarkozy tried to reform this society. And when he arrived, he was talking about change. And there is a huge proportion of the French society which is very allergic to reform, and now they are in the streets because they ask for money, and they don't intend to listen to this speech of Sarkozy about hardship, and we have to go through the crisis and to continue looking at the debt of France, etc. They want money. They want a Keynesian approach, in fact.
So
more money for the people.
The French social model as we've come to know it in the United States, I mean, is this the end of it?
Yeah, I think it's been the end of it for years, because this model is not working so well. Of course, people in France are much more protected than in the United States, and they don't have all these problems with health, but of course there are very many problems, because the health system is sort of exploding. Social security model, is huge debt. Same thing with the educational system. But at the same time, France is a conservative society, quite leftist, and at the same time it's revolutionary. And for President Sarkozy, it's going to be a big challenge, and there is a big worry at the top of the leadership what to do with this discontent, because they are very much afraid it could sort of get into some kind of massive social unrest. And I remember Sarkozy telling some French politicians that it's so difficult to deal with a country which has beheaded its king, because you never know what's going to happen with.
Right. I mean, do you think some Europeans would be surprised that there haven't been large-scale protests in the United States? I mean, for example, in France, 1 million people took to the streets.
Yeah, this is different segments of the population. A lot of functionaries who feel bad about low salaries, and they just go to the street because they're protesting. But the thing is that the left part of the society, you know, the Socialist Party hasn't got any recipe for getting out of this crisis. And so, in fact, the problems are going to come from the extreme left in France, and you have a big movement sort of growing, which is the movement of Olivier Besancenot, and he's creating at the moment an anti-capitalist party. And it's still, you know, up in France, you know, although communism sort of fell, and there was this, you know, demonstration that communism doesn't work. In France, you still have a very big extreme left, and I think they are going to lead this social unrest.
All right. Well, Lord Mandeville, thank you very much for coming on the programme and sharing your insights with us about what's happening on the continent.
Well, thank you for inviting me.